Welcome to this explainer. We are jumping right into the fascinating, wildly transformative world of expressive arts therapy. If you've ever felt like words just aren't enough to capture what's going on inside you, well, you're in exactly the right place. But before we get deep into it, I want you to consider a pretty provocative question. What if tapping into your body's hidden language is the actual key to true emotional integration? Think about it. What if our muscles, our bones, and our organs are holding the exact stories we've been trying to tell our whole lives? So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover what expressive arts is, phenomenology and raw experience, exploring the 12 senses, movement, music, and poetry, creating the safe space, and we'll wrap up with tools for self-regulation. Let's start with Section 1. What is expressive arts? We've got to clear up a few common misconceptions right off the bat, because this is so much more than just painting a picture or putting on a school play. This practice actually reclaims the ancient traditions of the arts to generate real, tangible, personal, and societal change. The expressive part, it isn't just about output, it's about doing the transformative work. And arts includes everything from dance and poetry to things like cooking and gardening, which reminds us of our deep connection to the natural world. Plus, therapy is broadened out here to include all caring professions, acting as a profound integration of life itself. Now, what makes this approach a real game changer is that it's intermodal. It never forces you into just one box. Instead, you might seamlessly weave together various creative forms. Like starting with a poem, letting that move into a dance, and then finishing up with a drawing. It relies entirely on the sensory connection between all these forms to act as natural medicine for the soul. To put that into perspective, think about how often Western medicine just wants to slap a bandage on a problem and, fix the symptom. The expressive arts approach flips that entirely on its head. It asks us to actually listen to our distress, viewing it as a really vital messenger carrying valuable insights. It's all about embodying the painful parts of ourselves and bringing them into a brand new, creative relationship. Section 2. Phenomenology and raw experience. This entire practice builds on a very specific philosophical foundation. In simple terms, phenomenology means sinking into moments of silence so you can intentionally observe the raw phenomena of your artwork and your inner thoughts, entirely without judgment. You're studying things exactly as they appear in your own subjective experience. So you aren't trying to overanalyze or fix anything, you're just bravely observing the colors, the movements, and the sensations right as they happen. There's this incredibly vulnerable reflection from a student in our sources that I absolutely love. It notes that our emotions are not problems to be solved, they're the raw material from which we can shape our lives. It really shows us that our feelings aren't obstacles, they're literally the brushstrokes of our existence. When we stop looking at our sadness or our anger as a disease we need to cure, we can finally use them as the raw material to construct something beautifully authentic. All right, Section 3, exploring the 12 senses. Okay, prepare for a massive paradigm shift. Just forget the basic 5 senses you learned about in elementary school. According to anthroposophy, we actually have 12. It starts with the physical or sensation tier, which brings consciousness to our physical body. This includes your sense of life, that underlying feeling of general well-being. Then there's touch, which communicates your physical boundaries, the sense of movement, or proprioception, tracking your muscles and joints, and balance, which is your vestibular orientation in physical space. Next up, we have the perception, or soul senses. These help us experience the world and evaluate different qualities. Now, you know sight, smell, and taste pretty well, but consider the sense of warmth. This is beautifully defined as a twofold sense. We feel physical temperatures, sure, like a cold winter breeze, but we also experience soul warmth, like the deep, comforting presence of a really good friend. Finally, we reach the cognitive senses, and these empower us to comprehend others and truly connect. There's hearing, of course, but then there's the sense of word. Think about how often you read between the lines of what someone is saying to you. There's the sense of thought, which gives us the capacity to comprehend what another person's thoughts are conveying. And really powerfully, the sense of ego, which is your ability to identify your unique I and stand up for yourself in the world. Moving on to Section 4, movement, music, and poetry. With all our senses fully mapped out, how do we actually put this into practice? Well, Daria Halbrin outlines this highly actionable 5-step method for physically integrating our deeply held body stories.
You don't just sit there and think about an issue like, say, confusion. No, you focus on how your body feels. You physically move to express it, then you capture that energy on paper with a drawing, and finally, you process the whole thing with words. It's an incredibly complete cycle of sensory integration.
There's a brilliant quote by Pernilla Overo that perfectly captures this. All that I know when I dance, I want to know in my life when I'm not dancing. It just beautifully bridges the gap between the vulnerability of being in the studio and our everyday existence. We want the freedom, the alignment, and that deep self-knowing we find in the expressive arts to actually walk out the door with us into our real-world relationships and our careers.
And it's not just movement either. Poetry taps into our personal rhythm, giving a real voice to the unspeakable. And I just love this concept. Music acts as a sensitizing device that gathers us all together. It's almost like a mothering force. It holds, shapes, and structures our inner experiences, providing a profound sense of psychological safety and care.
Section 5. Creating the safe space.
So how exactly do we safely contain all this profound emotional expression in a group dynamic? We really have to look at the therapeutic frame, specifically the difference between being relaxed and being casual. Being relaxed means you are settling fully into the vulnerability of the process. Being casual, on the other hand, means you're neglecting your responsibilities to the group, like failing to be on time, giving unprompted advice instead of reflections, or not respecting everyone's cultural and emotional differences. By establishing a climate of non-judgmental grace, we nurture what's called the river within. In this space, your sensitivity becomes your absolute superpower, not a liability. Judgment makes us physically tighten up and close off. But a permanent climate of genuine kindness allows your authentic movement to organically and safely unfold.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, Tools for Self-Regulation.
Because let's be honest, all this expression can seriously stir things up. We need ways to sustain our balance in the real world. Daily grounding techniques allow you to release physical heaviness on the exhale, even vocalizing it, letting it out with sound, and process ongoing emotions through consistent art and journaling. Whether it's doing a quick mindful scan for physical tension or painting your feelings in a notebook every other day, these habits are what keep you securely present. And there's a fascinating biological takeaway here too. By embracing the pressure of authentic expression, we actively engage our vagus nerve to physically calm our nervous system down. Performance anxiety usually thinks your vagus nerve has completely disengaged, but by leaning right into the moment, we create true grace under pressure. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. If your body truly holds the imprints of all your life experiences, what unexplored story will you choose to express today? The tools are right there in your hands, your 12 senses are waiting to be awakened, and your body is ready to speak. So, how will you shape your own masterpiece? Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.